Hi, I'm Josie. I'm the owner of Paint Pixie brushes, and I want to thank you for joining me today. So many of you saw that beautiful oval frame I made. It's what I'm calling my Capodimonte inspired flowers. So to remind you, just in case you haven't, let me show it to you. The project I'm going to work on for this video is this round frame. Pretty boring, right? But I actually like the size of this, and I am seriously thinking of getting a mirror cut for it instead of using it with art or clear or nothing at all. So with that said, I am going to be walking you through how I made that mirror, and I will show you every product I use. At the end of the video, I'll make sure I've got a list of all the supplies, or probably the beginning of the video, a list of all the supplies so that if you want to follow along, you can. So let's get going. First thing I'm going to do, I don't always do this, but I'm doing it on this frame because this frame is enamel. Looks like it's got enamel paint. It's a high shine. So what I'm going to do is tilt. Let's bring you down to this level. All right. First thing I decided to do is I'm going to use this sander deglosser. I really like it. I get this at Home Depot. Just going to take a rag, and all I'm going to do is go around the frame with it. And what it's going to do is it's going to help the paint adhere. The reason I normally don't do this, typically because I'm using clay-based paints and they stick to everything. You don't have to prime them or sand them. In your case, because you can use whatever brand paint you want, you might want to do this, because I know there are some brands out there that they're selling primers. So maybe the purpose of that is because they want you to prime your furniture or your piece before you paint. So you definitely want to follow whatever the manufacturer suggestion is for applying their paint. So that's why I'm thinking, just be on the safe side. Let's have you apply some of this. All right, now we're just gonna wait for it to dry, probably in about 10 minutes, but I'll be back. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes, it's dry, and now I can feel there's like a little film on it. You can just kind of feel it, almost makes it tacky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my number 4 Joy brush. All right, what I like about these brushes, these oval brushes, is the density of the bristles. So if you don't have one, you might want to get yourself one, because it's going to leave a really nice paint job and use less paint, really, because you don't have to do as many layers. So I'm using a deep dark chocolate. You can use any color you want. We're using a dark chocolate. If you want to use layered chocolate from DIY Paint, it is the clay-based paint that I love. So with that said, let's paint. So there you have it. It's our base coat. And we're gonna let this dry now. So I have one coat of that deep brown on. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to seal this. Now, if you are using any kind of paint other than the clay base, typically, I think most of them have some kind of acrylic possibly in them. Shouldn't say typically. And you probably won't have to do this next step. With the clay-based paint, I want to do it. I don't need to, but I want to. The reason being, I only have one coat of the deep brown. I also, as we progress and you see my layering technique, I'll be washing some colors down. I do not want to wash back to that original white. So the product I've decided to use, since I'm only going to do one coat and I have this product in my stock, my personal stock, It is a DIY product called Dark and Decrepit. It is a deep brown sealer. So with this, I'm only going to use my artist brush and I'm going to paint it right over my paint finish. All right, so there we go. I'm only going to do one coat of the Dark and Decrepit. If you're using a clear sealer, chances are you will only need one coat as well. And you won't need it if you're not using a clay-based paint, because most of the paints I've ever used, they even say they're chalk paint. Typically, water will not reactivate them. So, all right, let's go on to the next thing. All right, so here's the fun part. We are now going to start working on the molds. Yay! I even did a couple of test ones right here, trying two different clays that I have. I feel like they've dried the same, but I'm going to use the new clay that I have because that's the one you will be able to find. So, with that said, it is called Activa. This is 2.5 pounds. Got it on Amazon for less than $7. I think this is the picture they have on Amazon where it says plus. So that's why I wanted to show you both sides. Okay. What I like about it, it's an air dry and it's soft. It's not, you can use whatever clay you want. This is my favorite type. I'm not a big fan of paper clays per se. I feel like they are like stiffer, harder. It's hard to explain. All right, so first thing we're gonna do, I'm just gonna make random flowers. So I think what I'll do is I'm tamping the leftover cornstarch. This is cornstarch that I am brushing in here. And what it does, it's going to help release the clay from the mold. So I try to just have enough clay to fit in the mold. Kind of wondering how, this is a rose one. Again, some of these I have never used, and I found them kind of at the bottom of my mold bin. So now I want to use them. Now what some people like to do, I went ahead and I've got this trowel right here that I'll use. You can, if you want, just take the excess off the back. I don't have too much excess. It's really not coming off because I try to put what I need. I'm going to pop that off and voila. It's a rose. These aren't really my favorites. These are kind of flat, but I'm going to use it. And I'm going to keep making some flowers. I am just going to put these on randomly. I don't want a pattern. Oh, I like that. Let me turn it so you can see it better. See it? What do you think? All right, so I'm going to use the glue I've been using. I was thinking about using the Loctite that I have also, but let's give this a try. All right, this is what I need to do first. I feel like I need to work my way out, so let's do that. I want to make sure I put a generous amount of glue, because here's the thing I'm running into right here on this frame. It's almost like has like stair steps, so I need to make sure I have enough glue on the back to hit the ridges. There we go, there's ridges. That was one of the reasons I thought I might use the Loctite, but we're going to give this a try. All right, so we are done gluing all of our leaves, my leaves, I should say, on the side. I actually have let it dry for a little bit. Want to make sure the glue, they all got set with the glue. So now I'm going to take my deep brown paint and start painting these. And I'm thinking this might not be the right brush for this. I might want to possibly use a different brush. Maybe even, could even go with the artist brush, right? Because that has the little, I like how it's angled and it gets right into the crevices. So I'm using my turquoise iris brush here, the edge, it's called. Okay, the paint's dry. The next step is, I called it the stain before, but it's a sealer. It's the darkened decrepit sealer. Just like we did on just the frame, we're going to apply the sealer. All right, so we're back. This has totally dried. The darkened decrepit is on top. No matter what you do, whatever color it is, just make sure it's totally dry before this next step. The next step is dry brushing the white, and I'm going to be using a pure white. So I'm also going to be testing, I might have to use the smaller one, but I've decided to try dry brushing with this larger, more of an artist brush. Reason being, there's so many intricate areas and I want to just lightly brush over it. I may need this little smaller one to get into some of the other areas down here. So when you dry brush, you barely want to dip your tip in the paint. If you feel like, I'm going to show you, so if you feel like there's too much paint, and I always do what they call offloading on the edge of my jar. If you feel like maybe there's too much paint, it's better to tamp it a little bit on a rag because you can always go back and repaint an area. All right, so let's go, and it looks like I dripped some earlier here. So here you go. You can see what's happening. Oh, this is a good brush. I can almost get into all the areas. I'll go back afterwards with that little brush. I may even want to put a little bit more than this, but I'm telling you, I'm barely touching the surface. There's probably a 1/16 of an inch of paint on there. That's it for that step. Didn't even need the little brush. All right, for the next step, we're going to make our watercolor. I am using the clay-based paint, the DIY clay-based paint, Monet's Garden. First thing I want to do though, before I add paint to my container, I've got these cute little containers I've saved from some desserts that I had. They work perfect because you won't need a lot of paint or water to, for this type of project. I'm going to pour in about a 1/2 inch, and that's even going to be too much, but that's what I'm going to do for you for now. I've got these big, large craft sticks. I'm kind of using as my spoon. And I think I'm going to do 3 dips. Nope, I'm going to do 2. And I can always add more. I'm going to stir it really well. I like stirring it with my paintbrush. I like using the bristles of my brush. We're done with the green for now. I'm going to put that aside as well. Now, what I found was easier last time when I was working on that beautiful mirror is I chose one color for each particular flower. I just felt like it was easier. I might do that this time. At least I'm going to start it that way. So here's the purple I made by using, if you want to use this, make the same colors I have. I'm using all DIY colors. This one is Blue Iris mixed with Carnival Red. No, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Mixed with Kissing Booth. Blue Iris and Kissing Booth. I think earlier I might have even said I used a red. I did not. I remember I changed my mind. I think I'm going to do these little 5-petal flowers in the purple. Oh, this purple's pretty intense. So let's see, you saw this one and you saw this one. I have one more right here. Right, so that's it for that. Wow, isn't that looking beautiful? All right, we're back to the beginning. Let me put this away. Okay. All right, the next step, we're going to wash. This is all dry. We are going to use a really thin rag. You can use baby wipes as well, but I like to use my thin rag. I am now going to wash away the excess paint. We're going to reveal some of the white under there. And all I do is I just wrap it around my finger. Nothing complicated about that. And I can reveal, see, can you see that? Bring it away a little closer. Let's see what happens with the bird. be able to see the detail a little better. Now it's looking more antique-y, isn't it? Washing some of that color off. So, okay, we're good on this step for now. All right, we are ready for the next step, and that's sealing it. And I have decided to use a liquid sealer. I'm going to be using DIY product called Clear Patina. It leaves a really nice shine, and I'm kind of curious to see the sheen on this piece, whereas the other one I waxed. And I know a lot of you aren't waxers, so this might just be the best solution for everyone. Let me tilt the camera down. I'm going to use an artist brush for this just because it's just, I need to be able to get into these little tight crevices. That's it. Now it just has to dry. After it dries, I will be able to show it to you. Okay, so what you see here is the round piece of glass that goes into that frame. It came to me like I was laying in bed and I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be so cute if I did this. So I decided to add some bonus footage. What I am going to do is I'm going to stencil on the glass, and I am going to be using some JRV, Jamie Ray Vintage stencils. I've already practiced, not on glass, but I just want to make sure I like the colors, and I knew I would, but I still want to practice. And then you can kind of see what it says, right? Fresh cut daily, flower market, bloom, stem, seeds. I thought this would look really cute and so appropriate. It'll also give me a chance to work with the JRV stencil brushes again. I don't do a lot of stenciling, and yeah, so I'm kind of excited about this one. We're going to use Mermaid Tail, where you see the blue, Liquid Sunshine on the Cut Daily, and Firestarter on the rest. So this is what I plan to do. I'm actually going to stencil on the back side of the glass. The reason being is this way, the front side can always be cleaned without any concern about the paint coming off the glass, right? So, how genius is that? But I have to build up my layers. I'm going to do is put this, you have to have your wording upside down, okay? Otherwise, your words are going to be backwards. And, oh, right over here, give me a second. I do have some masking tape. I think it might be kind of smart of me to just kind of tape this. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just eyeballing it. I think it'll be okay. I'm going to tape it. Oh, I did clean my glass prior to doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and tape it on each side. And then we're ready to go. And just to kind of show you, this is my practice. I took a piece of paper that was on here already. It's my practice board. So let me show you their stencil brushes. So I won't be using this really big one because it's just much too big for my project. But look I love this handle. You can even use this for waxing, just so you know. We've got the JRV number 24, the 18, and the number 12. I am going to go ahead and use a set that is not brand new because I don't need to use a brand new set, right? So I'm going to start with my mermaid tail. I am doing something. I went ahead and dipped the tip right into the can. I'm just offloading it now. I'm actually going to take my rag and blot it to get the excess off. So now what I want to do is stipple this. And that's pouncing. That's what stippling is. When you pounce, you are less likely to get paint underneath your stencil. I'm going to go ahead and show you again. Actually, you probably should pour this into something, but you know, I'm kind of a rebel because I'm going to be blotting off the excess anyway. That's why I didn't. And I am going to do the pouncing again, which is called stippling. There are other ways to do this, but again, for this application, I want to pounce because the glass is slippery too, and this will hopefully eliminate any what they call bleed through, where the paint gets under the stencil. All right, so there's a mermaid tail. My next color that I want to use is Liquid Sunshine, which is my yellow. Going to do the same thing, dipping my brush in there and tapping it onto the rag, stippling it as well. And you know, if my two colors here bleed together, it's okay because it's going to make a really pretty green. And what I mean by bleed together, you know, you can see where I have some mermaid tail right there by where the Liquid Sunshine goes. Next color for the, oh, I know, I did forget something. Whoops. I'm going to add Liquid Sunshine to the little asterisks or stars or whatever these are called. All right, next color, Fire Starter. We're going to dip that in, offload, tap, and then tamp, tamp, tamp. I typically don't like to mix my blues and my oranges. You have to be really careful. They could end up making a really ugly brown color. So hopefully that won't happen in our case, because there's just a tiny bit of blue, that mermaid tail on the edge there. All right, now to remove this stencil, my advice is start from the bottom and very carefully move up. There we go. I do have another step we're going to do after this. So what I'm going to do is let this dry and then I'll be back. All right, next step, it's dry. I actually dried it with a blow dryer. I always feel like when you use the dryer, it helps set the paint even a little faster. Obviously it's drying it faster, but kind of rushing the cure time a little bit. This is something I have never done before. So wish me luck. I am going to paint White Swan. It's a pure white now on top of the letters. I'm using my little D brush, and I probably have to be really careful over the paint, but here goes nothing. And I'm using a really light hand when I get around those letters. I'm not even sure what kind of finish this little D is going to leave. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like I don't want it or need it to be perfect. Since everything else is more on the age side, right? Almost just looks like, old paint that's starting to wear. I like it. Even though you see the strokes, the brush strokes. I don't want to do too much over those letters. Like I said, I don't want to accidentally pull the letters off. So I should probably clarify, I have painted on glass before, but not like this. Not like where I've stenciled. I've just painted the glass on something. I feel like the stencil's staying there. Stenciled letters. Right. Kind of just going over some of these areas right down here to even out the paint. A little bit, just a little bit. All right. Now that's got to dry. Once it dries, I will pop it in the frame. Well, are you all ready for the reveal? I know I am, because I'm so excited about how this turned out. And I hope you had a great time making yours as well. So without further ado, here we go. Our fresh flower market, right? I love it. Who doesn't like fresh flowers, or at least the beauty that they give us? Well, I hope you enjoyed making yours as much as I loved making this. I think it was well worth the almost 3 hours. And I hope you'll continue to make more and be inspired. And I thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, bye.